Hello, and thank you for joining me. One thing leading up to a general election that is palpable is that emotions, that is political responses, how we feel about policies, tend to rise. Temperaments tend to fray, and this is to be expected because the point of a general election is about political power. It's about putting people into office as legislators. So inevitably, when the political arguments are flying around, there's going to be strong opinions. And I plead guilty. I absolutely find myself getting worked up about a lot of things, perhaps more than I should. But there's one issue I want to touch on for now. There's going to be many more. That's why I was talking about that, because there is going to be many more leading up to this general election. But it's one particular issue that I've touched on before and I will briefly touch on now. And it is the regressive left. Now, you'll notice I'm not saying the left, so I'm not making a video attacking the left. Why? Because there are some areas of the left I would agree on. I'm not a right winger. I don't identify completely with the political right, barely at all, in fact. There's areas I would agree with the right, and there are areas I would agree with the left. So the point is, I'm talking about a particular sort of left wing thinking, which I find frankly insufferable, and it's been very obvious in recent years. Um, what got me thinking about this was the London Labour MP Chuka Amuna had a piece on his Facebook timeline attacking UKIP. Apparently, they're planning to ban the burqa if they get elected. I don't think UKIP will do very well because they've lost a lot of the membership. But anyway, the point is this: Shaukat Amuna clearly felt his piece was this is not the sort of integration I want, or I will not take lectures from UKIP on integration. Um, what he totally failed to understand is that by attacking UKIP on this burqa thing, he comes across as an advocate of the burqa. Now, to be fair, I don't think it's a case that Chuka Amuna probably is a big fan of the burqa, but this is typical regressive left behaviour. There are many valid reasons to criticise UKIP, but when they are attacking a regressive cultural practice, you don't win points by attacking them. That's nonsensical. Focus on other things, focus on the EU debate. But to attack UKIP on the burqa is nonsense. The burqa is regressive. The burqa should, in my opinion, be banned. Why? Number one, only a very, very, very small number of Muslim women actually wear it. So this argument that it's an attack on Muslim women is misleading. Number two, it was used as a tool of subjugation by the likes of the Taliban, and it is used not just by the Taliban but by other theocratic, ultra-conservative groups around the world. Number three, it is an issue with communication. Again, the regressive left will try to downplay this, but the fact of the matter is, if someone is covering their mouth, can only see their eyes, it's physically difficult to communicate with them. Now, if someone wears, because there's always whatabouteries brought into this. Well, if someone's wearing a motorcycle helmet and they go into a bank, they're obliged to remove it. So, a woman wearing the burqa should be obliged to remove it in a bank. Why? So that the bank staff know that she's not a potential bank robber, so that they know she's not a potential terrorist, or he for that matter, because male Islamists could very well use it as a cover. Um, I don't think it is at all bigotry to talk about these things. But this really taps into something that I find insufferable about the regressive left. They are very, very vocal in condemning right wingers. Now, this is politics. They're left wing, they condemn right wingers, and I'm fine with that. But what I find insufferable is they find it more important to attack the right on these issues than to robustly make their position clear. And that then leads to a natural conclusion that if you're going to attack someone for criticizing the burqa, you are in favor of the burqa. And that might not be your position, but that's how it comes across. So I think the regressive left are guilty of the worst sort of virtue signaling. They don't want to talk about regressive cultural practices. because it won't fit their narrative of diversity and multiculturalism, right? So they will never talk about honor killings. They will never talk about regressive Islamic practices. They will never talk about the treatment of apostates in Islam. They will never talk about these regressive things because they're worried that it will offend some Muslims, not all Muslims, by the way, some Muslims, or some people from parts of the world where these practices are seen as the norm. So, for example, if an MP who has a large number of British Pakistani constituents, um, in that sort of situation, they're highly unlikely to condemn blasphemy laws. Now, that's unfortunate. MPs in this country should be able to speak their mind. If it's a case that they're being threatened, that's a different matter. But if it's a case that they're just not talking about these things because it would be uncomfortable, that's unacceptable. That is utterly unacceptable. And the interesting thing about this is within the Labour Party, it's in all factions. It isn't just the Corbyn side of things, it's also the centrist side of things. As a centrist, excuse me, I have a problem with that. Now, Chuka Amuna would probably be described as a centrist. Um, to me, this isn't particularly centrist. This is regressive. To me, centrism would be saying this is a regressive practice because it goes against basic liberal democratic values of equality of the genders, um, freedom of expression, insofar as being able to communicate with people, insofar as being part of society, and how anyone could defend the burqa is beyond me. The argument about free expression just wears thin because in many cases it isn't a choice anyway. And frankly, those Muslim women who do choose it, I think they're delusional, especially when their sisters in other parts of the world are being persecuted. I'm not talking about the hijab, by the way. I'm talking specifically about the burqa. And I find it infuriating that the left are so gutless in this. Not everybody, there are left wing figures or figures who would identify with the political left who are more honest about this, but unfortunately, they are few and far between. The burqa is regressive, and shame on Shaka Amuna for basically thinking it's more important to attack UKIP than to recognise that something like this is a problem. He can attack UKIP on other issues, it's politics. I've no issue with him attacking UKIP because he's a Labour politician, that's politics. But not on this. You know, why would anyone have an issue with the burqa being banned unless you're an Islamist or unless you're a regressive left apologist? One or the other. You cannot claim to be progressive and advocate the burqa. So I'm feeling rather disgusted actually because I'd sort of looked at Chaka Amuna as being centrist, but this to me exposes him as regressive left. And I'm not just talking about him. There's other examples, but that's just the context of this video. And I made these points on his page because I think they need to be challenged. Um, and here's a point. I'll just close with this. It wasn't trolling. Sometimes I think we have this idea that if someone leaves a dissenting view, then it's trolling. I have left critical views on a lot of party political pages. I never threaten anyone, okay? I never say, "Well, I'm going to leave a bomb outside your house or anything like that. And I never just leave crude jokes or anything. I make valid points and I ask valid questions. That isn't trolling, that's engaging. And it is also making it clear that there are people who take issue with what he's saying. Because if it's a case that you only have people agreeing with a politician, or any public figure for that matter, then they're never going to see the other side. So yeah, it just disgusts me that the regressive left, and some people might say I'm name calling here, but regressive left, they're just adjectives. Regressive, endorsing regressive ideas, left, left wing. So I don't think it's particularly insulting, but it is, in my view, an accurate definition. Regressive left. If you believe that there's nothing wrong with honor killings, if you believe, or let me put it this way, if you think such practices shouldn't be condemned, you are regressive left. And it's pathetic.